Elon Musk's SpaceX says a geomagnetic storm wiped out 40 of the 49 Starlink satellites it launched into orbit last week.
This post received a score of 37,000, with an upvote ratio of 91%. Here are the top comments in response to this article.
How would a solar storm destroy them and not any other satellites also in the storm's path? Edit. From the article. The speed and intensity of the storm caused the atmospheric drag to climb to levels 50% higher than previous launches, SpaceX said in the statement, making it harder for satellites to reach their orbital position. Makes sense.
It's due to the orbit the satellites were at when the storm hit them. Other satellites in its path were in a much higher orbit with respect to Earth.
Why is being in a low orbit more dangerous for solar storms than being in a high orbit? I would think in the lower orbit you have more shielding from the atmosphere, and if nothing else you're a teeny bit farther from the Sun?
The atmosphere slows down the satellite and causes it to drop altitude. To be extra clear, objects in space stay in orbit because of how fast they're moving. When they slow down and lose velocity, they start to fall to Earth's gravity and well, down ya go.
Yep. However, just to be clear to anyone thinking that the other satellites also dropped in altitude but were high enough for it not to matter, that's not the case. The Starlink satellites only dropped in altitude because of the storm causing an increase of atmospheric drag, and they were still very much in it at the time they were going up. Everything else is too far away for that drag to cause any effect.
The ISS, and maybe the Chinese station, feels drag pretty strongly, and it probably dropped a bit, too. It's higher than the Starlink constellation, but it still needs to reboost every 6 months or so due to the drag. But yeah, most satellites are a bit higher and not affected nearly as much or at all.
I think a lot of people are surprised when they learn that the crews in orbit are still experiencing the majority of Earth's gravity despite being weightless in their frame of reference.
Right. They're in free fall, but just moving to the side so fast that they miss the ground.
This is generally the best way of explaining an orbit to most people.
Why didn't they just remodulate the pattern buffers to get extra energy for the containment field?
No, they should have reversed the polarity of the neutron flow.
Can't they just reticulate the traversal coil on the quantum carburetor or something?
Yes, but only if the nanometers picked up any gamma-ray signals. Otherwise they would be left to perform a synchronous quasi-shift with no fractal optical vision. I'm sure we all know what happens next.
This video was automatically created by Reddit to speech. The article and comments in this video were selected from Reddit according to their upvotes, and any paraphrasing was performed by smmry.com, without any human intervention.